From the studios of Channel 6, it's The Morning Show with Jan Dean.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to the Wednesday edition of The Morning Show. It's great to have your company and I've got so many people for you to meet, I don't know where to start. Let's start at the end and work our way back to the start. Later on, I must say good morning to everybody watching in the Deniliquin area because I have a number of people who you just might know. It was a pretty exciting time up in Deniliquin last night. It saw the world premiere, yes, the world premiere of a production called When Dreams Were Only Dreams. And I have a number of people who are I don't know how they look as good as they do. Apparently it was a fairly late night up in Deniliquin last night, but they're going to tell us all about what happened last night a little bit later on in today's. Welcome back. You're watching the Wednesday edition of The Morning Show. So far, we've dealt with our early childhood development program segment, had a chat to two ladies, Patricia Glover and Linda Stoll, talking about parent involvement in kindergartens and school. Also, we just had Jenny Burgess from Body Fit City Walk presenting our regular exercise segment, and we dealt with tummy exercises, I guess is the best term. We won't get too technical. We're right now. We meet people from Deniliquin, and to say the Deniliquin Dramatic Club is enthusiastic, well, it certainly is an understatement. These people really know how to put on theatre, and last night they had the world premiere of their latest production called When Dreams Are Only Dreams, and here they are down in Shepparton this morning to talk to me all about it. My guests are Michael King, Mary Barnes, Stuart Bailey and Stephen Wall. Michael, if I could start with you. I guess the seed of this whole production started with you. Where did the idea come from first off?
The idea came from a song written by a friend of mine, Kim Dobby, called When Dreams Are Only Dreams. I heard at a dramatic club party one night, and just sort of the idea of the song When Dreams Are Only Dreams was always a great idea for a musical, I thought. That was back a few years now, and I sort of always had a wish to write a musical, and it was sort of in 1986 as I was doing Grease with the dramatic club that I decided that I would sort of attempt to write one. So it sort of just grew from there.
Right, and it certainly did grow because you actually sat down and wrote a lot of musical numbers and a synopsis. But can you just give us a few more details? That sounds fairly simple, but it's not that easy, is it?
No, well, sort of prior to that stage, I'd written about 4 songs, and I just roughly sketched out a storyline. And then it just sort of grew very slowly from there. Like I'd write a song and I think, oh yes, I could use that in the musical, and just gradually change the story to fit in the songs. And it was sort of a reasonably sort of slow sort of building up, but gradually it got to the stage that it did.
Michael, one thing I did want to ask you is the fact that you just said, well, I just write a song and do this and do that. That isn't easy. What about your musical background? Have you had any training at all?
Yeah, I've learned piano for about 11 years now, sort of a strong classical basing, and I have been composing sort of classical type pieces, since I was about 11 or something. I used to just sit down and write these little tunes and things, but...
You've really put it to practical use, all that study too, and it's nice to hear that. Mary, if I could come along to you, Michael's a musical director as well as writing the thing. You came along after some songs had been written. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, Michael asked me to listen to his music, and he's, I now know that he was quite happy with the Dramatic Club to do it, but it really is music that could be used professionally, but I didn't know what to do with it, so I rang a friend in Sydney who's a playwright, and he said, well, no one's going to look at it without a script, and we couldn't afford script writers, so... that night I sort of remembered some of the things Michael had told me, and I sort of wrote a few pages and rang him up and read it out, and he was keen, and then he said, I had to ask him, that's right, what followed. I couldn't remember. And I said, better still, Michael, what are you doing tomorrow? So we spent all of last year's school holidays every day writing. Anyway.
Did that worry you that you actually sort of had to sit down, instead of just being presented with a script and a score, you actually had to write it? Did that worry you at all?
I was worried as to whether it would work. I mean, I knew we had a musical, but last night I found out we had a musical comedy.
Sounds good. Well, for people who haven't seen When Dreams Are Only Dreams yet, I just wondered, Mary, could you give us a little bit of an idea of the story outline?
Oh, gee, it's difficult. We've discussed this. It's basically the story of a teenage boy, country boy, who wants to sing and be famous and live in the city. And he does this with the help of a conscience, who's Stuart.
Oh, right.
And there's lots of little sort of different things. The parents are there, the teachers are there, the schoolmates are there. I sort of, I'm still not sure whether it's a dream or not.
But the character goes through a lot of highs and lows, and I just wondered now, once you and Michael wrote it, you're reasonably happy with what's going on. Then you had
we had a ball.
We're glad to hear it. What about casting it now? That must have been another task. How did you go there?
Yes, it was. I mean, I only wanted 17 and we ended up with 28. But, you know, I'm really proud of my casting now because it's just worked so well.
Michael, could I come back to you? Was it worrying, once you'd written it and you were fairly happy with what was going on, then you had to turn around, your musical director, I guess, and teach the cast your music. Were you a bit uptight at certain stages that it was going to work?
Yeah, especially early on, as if to say, you know, whether the songs were any sort of good, whether they could be taught, whether they were singable. We did sort of decompose a few of them and sort of recompose again. But overall, they picked up the songs reasonably quickly, which was sort of very encouraging.
I've never heard decomposed used in that way, but I think that's a new meaning. I think we'll like to use that. I just wonder, who else is involved in putting the whole production on, Michael?
Well, there's a cast of 28 and backstage, be a cast of about 10 backstage. There's a lot of people involved. It's sort of hard to put it down. Graham Barnes is involved with the lighting and building of the set and many things.
What about the musical backing too?
Musical backing. So we've got a four-piece band, but there's the flautist and guitar player are actually in the show itself, so they don't actually play all the time, but in a couple of numbers they do come and play. And Kathy Armitage is also in the band. She plays keyboards, and Richard Davies is on sax and clarinet. So
it's like a lot of theatre groups too, a lot of multi-talented people turning their hands to different tasks.
Yeah, that's right.
Mary, could I come back to you, because of course I mentioned the fact that When Dreams Were Only Dreams world premiere last night up in Deniliquin. Could you tell us how it went?
Oh, it was just fabulous. It was just left us all speechless. People, I've never had so many kisses.
Well, I won't go into the details of that, but I just wondered.
It was wonderful.
It's the first time anyone's heard it. What were some of the comments that you heard?
Oh, unbelievable. People said things like, you know, it's oh, I'm sorry, I'm flabbergasted myself. We just got so many different comments that I was just left speechless. Everyone loved the music. People in the audience were so quiet when the solos were on, listening to the lyrics. Most of our jokes got laughs.
Well, that's a big thing too.
Yeah, and it was really hot in the theatre last night, and we didn't lose anyone from the audience, so they must have really enjoyed it.
Well, I mentioned the fact that it was a late night last night for people up in Deniliquin because, of course, with the world premiere and everyone having such a good time, I think the cast had a good time as well. I've got a couple of the cast members with me as well, Stuart Bailey and Stephen Wall. Now, Stuart, if perhaps I could ask you, who do you play in the production?
I'm the conscience of David, and I sort of have to look after him all the time.
What sort of part is it? Is it I've seen you're a fairly lively person on stage. Is it a lively part?
Oh, it's relatively lively. When he gets nervous, it's pacing around and everything, but a lot of the time it's sort of talking to the audience and hanging around with David.
Right. I saw you in a production last year, and that's where I got the idea that you're fairly lively on stage. Now, what about learning someone else's music? Michael's there and you've got to learn his music. Was that a bit daunting?
I found it easy to learn. I thought it was good music. I liked all the songs and everything. I really enjoyed the song.
And did you feel fairly excited about the fact that you were singing those songs for the very first time?
Oh, yes, yeah, I suppose so. I haven't thought of it that way. But yes, I heard that the script's going to be used by another group or something, so that sort of put a different perspective on it.
Right. Stephen, if I could come across to you. Now, obviously you play a fairly important part. Could you tell us about it?
Well, I do play David Masters, who is basically who the story revolves around. and it's sort of his dream to go to the city and seek fame and fortune in the music industry.
Now, I know that you haven't done much theatre work. In fact, it was your first production.
The debut.
Yes. How do you think you went?
Oh, well, I was happy.
He's being very, very, very conservative here. We had great fun discussing this while we had our makeup done this morning, and it was a little bit more outlandish this morning. Can I just ask you, for anyone who's going along to see When Dreams Were Only Dreams, what can they expect? It's a very unique show.
Well, the music is you've got to hear it to believe it, and there is a lot of little funny things in there, which you get a chuckle every now and then. But no, overall it's a good show.
A really good night.
I think so.
Thank you. Just before we do finish off our discussion about a production called When Dreams Were Only Dreams, Mary Barnes, who happens to be the director also of the production. Mary, if I could come back to you. Now, it's also a bit of excitement too. It premiered last night. There are future nights that people can go along and see, but you're also going to take the production out of Deniliquin too, is that right?
Yes, we are. Mainly we've got 4 shows this week and 2 next week. So, and I know the last night's half booked out already. So anyone that wants to book had better move fast. And we are going to Leeton at Easter. We're going to do a matinee on Easter Monday at the Rice Festival. They were there last night and they were so impressed that they're going to sponsor us.
What about the Deniliquin, that is hard to say quickly, Deniliquin Dramatic Club, future productions? I said that you're an enthusiastic group, and you certainly are. What's coming up after this?
Well, someone's talking about doing Lute. There's the One Act Play Festival, which, people are already sort of looking at their plays. Madge Burns is going to direct later Summer of the 17th Doll. And if there's enough room and time, there's going to be a pantomime too. Beaut.
So for anyone up in the Deniliquin area, if you go along and see When Dreams Were Only Dreams and feel pretty inspired, there's lots of opportunities for you to get in on the act and join the club as well. To all of you, thanks for being here today. And for people out there who do want to go along and see the production, Mary, the tickets are available?
At Jeff Riley's, as usual.
Right, so just pop along to Jeff Riley's and get those tickets. Thanks for being here, and thank you for taking the time and trouble to drive down here this morning. It was a couple of hours out of your time, and I know you had a busy time last night. All the best with the rest of the season of When Dreams Were Only Dreams.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a quick break on today's edition of The Morning Show and be back to tell you about tomorrow and The Morning Show. And then saying bye for now.
Joe Hearn's obsession with finding his wife's rapist is complicated by romance on part 2 of Hands of a Stranger, the adults-only miniseries concluding 9 o'clock tonight. Sons and Daughters is next, followed by News Centre 6 and then The Midday Show.